Hello, I'm Chris Solo, and welcome to the Fabled 42, where we build community through friendship, gaming, and chaos. You are watching Quests and Answers. You can catch us live every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific here at twitch.tv/Fabled42. Before we get into today's episode, we're going to dive into some quick announcements. Everything that you see that's 3D printed on all of our streams is brought to you by Griffin Co. We are also friends with our friends over at Vorpal Board, so anything that you do that is playing remotely, you can go ahead and check out our friends at Vorpal Board. And check out our Patreon. Our Patreon has a lot of very exciting things. You have tickets to FabledCon, which is our online convention in April. We have a watch party on February 21st. It's like 2 weeks away, guys. And there's a lot of other really exciting things to go there, and it's a great way to support the network. I really wanted to rush into tonight's episode because, yes, we were talking about plot twists, but because of our current panelists, we're probably going to be talking a lot about wizards. We'll start at the top. Taryn, where can people find you?
My name is Taryn Hackett, and you can catch me at ValRook on Instagram. It's the only social media I bother with. I should grow up and do other things, but I don't want to. I like pictures. I make dice and post pictures of my fuzzy cat and sometimes other D&D things. And you can catch me here every Monday, like today, playing Jenks, the Shifter Monk on Legends of Shal Gal. And eventually a new character on Wizards. So.
We'll get to that here in a second. So, down below, Dianne.
Hey everyone, my name's Dianne. You can find me at the Pretty DM on Instagram and Twitter. I guess I am an adult. Who would have thought? I am the Dungeon Master for Legends of Shal Gal here every Monday at 5:30 Pacific. And I am also a Fearball Cleric Wednesday nights at 6:30 Pacific. And I am a wizard. And everything else they allow me to be in.
I had a joke and I lost it. Damn it. Ronin.
Oh.
Ronin's here?
It had to do with whispers, but never mind. Go ahead.
Ronin Fawks. You can find me at Ronin Fawks. That's FAWKS. Instagram only. And I make fun of all these fine people every Friday at 4 Pacific on Fox Talks, and that's where we do a recap show. And I am formerly known as a wizard, and will be again with a new character. So
very exciting.
Yep.
So today we are going to be talking about plot twists. This is Quests and Answers, where we go on a quest to find the answers for you all. Plot twist was something that was brought up a little while ago. I waited until now to do it for obvious reasons. So before we dive into the chaos that was Wizards, let's just take a beat before that. All of you as DMs and or players or writers, when we talk about plot twists, how early in your campaign and your story and your game do you think about these twists, and how long do you sit on them?
As soon as I get backstories, I start thinking about them.
Same.
How long I sit on it? I guess it depends. It depends on the plot twist. Although I don't know anything about plot twists. I've never done a plot twist, and I will never do a plot twist.
This is the look
that's
on
very
my face
sus.
when I don't believe you.
yeah, that's sus.
I mean, I feel like I've already done a little plot twist in Shal Gal.
A what?
Yes.
Plot twist.
Yeah. That's,
What did I say?
Nothing. Moving on.
no.
We're good.
Yeah,
I really don't know what I said if I messed
Well,
it up.
watch
Somebody
it on the
clip that.
watch it on the VOD. Yeah, so I think the plot twist idea has to be really early. You have to have at least an idea of what you're going to do, because foreshadowing. You want to
sure.
you want to lay the groundwork to make it believable. So some of that stuff has to be laid out pretty early, but it can adapt, it can mold and change. So but at least have an idea early on.
Well, and like I have a lot that'll start out when my players start telling me backstories, and then sometimes I mean, like as a DM, like your players do and say some things or come up with some stuff just throughout the campaign that just adds on, or honestly, some of the, like, I know Solo does this, but it's one of those things of like when they're playing and they say, "What if this?" You're definitely like taking note and like going, "I might work this in somewhere. Maybe not for this, but I might." Like, just saying, we're all always listening.
Always. Because the players come up with great ideas, and especially if most of your players are DMs too. They're like they switch back and forth, and as it comes out of their mouth, they're like, "Oh shit, I just said that out loud," and they look up and they see my eyes. They're like, "Damn it."
Well, and you've also been sort of guilty of impulsive plot twists that just so happen to work the hell out. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's just yes.
What do you mean?
So,
Oh yeah.
we'll get into that in a minute.
Well, yeah, I mean it. Same thing with me with plot twists and things and like big reveals, right? Like I like the big reveals. I like when it happens when it's something that's exciting for the players, right? You know, depending on the level of betrayal or heartbreak or whatever. But it takes your backstory and it brings it into the story, and all of a sudden you feel like you're even more invested in this pretend world where you get emotions, right? Where you cry, or you get happy, or you get sad. I know we were just talking about April just a minute ago, like, and what Ronin just said was that impulsive plot twist when April's character in her finale kept calling out to her boyfriend, the elemental race, which Ronan, you and I still need to come up with the names of that race, by the way.
Sure.
There's a lot of reasons why. But and he didn't come because he was preoccupied with dealing with a lot of other stuff. But then he finally came and saved her. And in that moment, I wasn't gonna kill him. But in that moment when I saw April's face, I went for it. And that's an impulsive plot twist where all of a sudden, like something that you don't want to happen happened, right? Like
Right.
Astra was somewhat predetermined because Astra didn't want to, or Alicia didn't want to play Astra anymore. Because that, when we first decided about doing Wizards, it was a very short form campaign, and that's what Astra was built for. And a lot of people have adapted and evolved their characters, but she wanted to do something different. So we decided that she was going to roll a new character, and then we would figure that out. But in those moments, yeah, I mean, like I have so like. I mean, we should just talk about it because we need to talk about it. But like with Wizards specifically, I created the Wizards storyline for that twist that we had. I knew that Wizards was going to be the origin story of at least Travanis and possibly a second, big bad, because it's the first age, right? This is like really, really early stuff. So you all were very intimately involved in that plot twist. There were several plot twists, honestly, in the final 3 episodes. So, and also this is open to the fans in the chat. Feel free to ask questions. Thank you guys for the raid. We are talking about plot twists, mainly talking about the season finale of Wizards of Ukador, where that happened last Friday. But in regards to the plot twists, there's so many. So I want to hear everyone's input on it because I have a lot to say about the individual roles and all these different threads and things. But I want to hear from you guys first.
To begin.
I mean, Anna didn't really know
Jesus.
much. I don't feel like I knew much besides the little bit that Anna knew, and that I was leaving my episode to go and join the Frostguard episode. I knew a little bit about what Thegan was doing because I knew I had to prepare myself for that emotion. That's really it. I feel like I had the least hold on any of this
I will say,
from my perspective.
spoiler alert, I guess a little bit of it, but the initial conversation and I didn't know all the details obviously, but the initial conversation happened at 1 a.m. my time after the very first episode of Wizards, which was the one I was on, the trials. That was
not when mine started.
No, but that was the first conversation about possibilities with this arc or this show.
Correct.
But that is not where it ended up at all. But that was the first conversation that Solo and I had about it.
Well, and it's kind of funny because it began with y'all having that conversation, and then Ronan and I bonded over World of Warcraft, and being the emo edgelord characters. That was literally what started that. And
Yeah.
then we were like, it'd be really cool what if we were like a raid someday? Just because we were super dorky about like, let's be villains and be blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then we kind of proposed it to Solo, and immediately after we proposed that to Solo, he called me afterwards and was like, so here's the thing. And I was like, oh, Ronan's gonna hate me.
Wait.
But this is
from
really
that
cool.
point?
Not to this level. I didn't know this part. Like it
I
didn't
quit
even-
table 42. Thank you very much.
It's soloed. I don't have any other better description of it other than it's soloed. Like it started out with an idea of like, well, what if it starts this way, but actually the power comes from here? And I was like, okay.
Holy God.
Yeah,
And
now
then-
we didn't talk about Travanis in that moment. I knew
No.
that I wanted Rook to be Travanis in that moment, but I
I
was
did not.
trying it out with her. So something that I did was I knew that I wanted
Jesus.
Travanis to be a PC. I didn't know who yet, and I was kind of letting it go. Like I know Kai was kind of on that docket, Olo was on the docket, Rook was, and there was who else was? Actually, Kizana. I was thinking about Kizana
Oh, God,
as like a
that would be
complete
dope.
flip.
Yeah.
But then she started having a relationship with
Yeah.
Othello, and then I was like, that doesn't work. But when you two, when you guys were joking about that thing, I immediately thought, ooh, let's try with Rook, because the other one was Anna as well, but I liked the direction we were going with the Shadow Queen, and then we ended up doing villains, and we were going that direction. Like, okay, so that's a separate direction. So like I started to weave that in, and once I decided that okay, Kai has this role, Olo has this role, and I'm thinking past this season as well. Like okay, so we have these different threads. Ooh, Anna's gonna be this and this. Oh yeah, that works. Rook. Oh, yes. And then at that moment is when I pitched it to her, and then in those conversations is when we talked about because like the betrayal of you, because
God damn, that was
That
so
wasn't-
long ago.
Well, the betrayal of you actually didn't happen until like that plan wasn't until much later. Like
I
at
love
that
how
point,
it worked out, which we'll talk about.
well, that was part of it too. Like we can get into that, but like it started a long time ago, but it definitely evolved. And like at one point, it was like, oh, this is how this is gonna happen. Okay, and then I went, nope, Ronan's gonna hate me.
I do in this moment, but it's fine.
yeah, I mean
Crying little raven tears.
Oh my god. I
I'm
mean
never getting
it
rid of
was interesting because like the interesting thing about doing a show like we're doing now with 15 PCs, there were so many simultaneous threads. And again, this is also, it started off anyway as a companion show to Realms, which is the main show on Wednesday. And the idea was to have these threads tie into Realms in some way, shape, or form. So there were so many different tie-ins because I have players in Wizards and I have players in Realms, and trying to tie those two in together without them being privy to all the chaos. Like it was, we do the silly thing from It's Always Sunny, but like in my head it's 10 times as worse with all the red strings everywhere.
Well, and you had the
Yeah.
other aspect of humans, right? So like the idea of like if I was writing a story, the Thegan Anna thing could have gone in a very different direction to create this, well, what happened in the superhero show or the supervillain show, right?
Yeah.
I mean that is the alternate universe, and that would have been just as good of a story. But Anna, played by Dianne, wants to continue to play her and wants to stay at the school, so she's going to make decisions.
That's what Anna would want, because I would
Exactly.
stay on the show regardless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I
that's-
talked to Solo about like, what would Anna do, and she's not gonna
100%.
let
Yeah, she's-
anyone
right.
get in the way of her knowledge.
and you're and she, if she is to become the Shadow Queen again, that is, theoretically whatever on the table, and it's off the table. It's both.
No, it's on the table.
It is, but I mean, until it happens, it's like Schrodinger's cat. So, but you are not there yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you would have went down a different path or whatever, it could have changed. But the way it played out, you were never going to leave with Thegan. Like that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So
The way I see it is in this timeline, since the timeline changed,
Right.
right? In this timeline, Anna wouldn't have become the Shadow Queen or the Lady of Pain if she left with Thegan.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because then her life is serving Thegan.
Right. And I'll tell you the betrayal of Rook, which
Is it a betrayal though? Because did she know that it
Rook
was
did not know.
right? So
Right.
Rook did not
Well-
betray you necessarily.
Well, I was telling
Taryn
Solo,
did.
I told Taryn and Solo that was actually easy. I had told Taryn probably, I don't know, in the break before our thing that my thought process was that Trayvonis was the wild card, and that if anything was going to happen, that she would most likely, like as I grabbed the heart, kill me. So I was actually fairly close on that, but not quite. And I did not know it was going to be Taryn.
Well, and Rook didn't know up until prom that things were not what she thought they were.
Okay, all right. See,
So, I'm glad that you brought up that you didn't know it was Taryn thing, because there's so many moments in the story structure where I'm role playing, we're doing things, and one of the players, whether they're in the game or in the chat, says, "Oh,
Yeah.
Travanis is Anna, or Travanis is Rook," and they once they start that, then the gossip train goes. That was
Sure.
the whole point of that one scene, which was improv, of you guys going and resurrecting the person who got murdered. And we went through the different names, and then I picked some NPC name, which was just Travanis throwing you guys off. But it was...
Oh yeah, I remember that because I was
Yeah.
like, "What? It's not me."
That's the only line I forgot. The whole thing was, "Did you really think I couldn't puppet a few corpses?" And I left it out, and I was so mad afterwards. But it's not like you can go like, "Oh, she pops back in." By the way, guys,
I have one more zinger.
I mean,
Sweet
there was so many though. There was so many
So
twists and
much.
turns in the shows, and it was beautiful to watch. And you look back at like the Moonlander episode, where I didn't necessarily know where everything was going to go and falling into place, and I knew that Kai since day one has been gunning Moonlander, or not Moonlander, Donadel.
Mhm.
Which it just falls into place, right? Like, I had y'all vote for top of class. Every single wizard voted top of class, which made Anna top of class. And just story reasons, of course, Donadel is going to be there to do this obligatory thing that he doesn't want to do. And it was just poetic, right? So, like, it just falls into place that Anna gets this award, and she's like, "Whatever, dude, you're a dick." Takes it and leaves, and then, Khalees appears, and then, Monkey's his uncle. And it's just all the different pieces that play in, right? So, like, Kai having a relationship with the elemental teacher that gave them in about certain things, and Khalees, like, so everybody played their role to get pieces in play so then that could happen. And it was just amazing to watch that. And the same thing with like Silverthorn as well, like, which was hard to do 3 simultaneous episodes, because Mardek leaving Frostguard to help Silverthorn had things having to happen for Frostguard, and Thegan and Anna couldn't go get the heart until Altora had left or died, because it's a proximity thing. So when Altora died, the security system over those 2 items dissipated, which left everything vulnerable, right? So, like, all these different options and variables that tie into each thing for all these different twists and turns. And Eddie talking to me after the fact, like, okay, I don't think I'm going to continue in season 3. Then I'm like, okay, so how do I do this, right? Do I kill off Ebdar? Do we make him a hero? Does he leave or flee to live
I
and fight
could not
another
have
day?
handled that. I don't think I could have.
Well,
There are 2 character deaths that probably would have just really, like, both hurt Rook and Taryn immensely.
Yeah, and even for somebody that had,
Glitterface.
not rough inside knowledge, like I understood some of the stuff behind the curtain. The plot twist, right, that during the announcement of Thegan was, like, I told Solo I was not role playing silence, although it's easy for Thegan to do that. I literally was mentally trying to put it all together, like, okay, wait, what? What is happening?
Yeah.
And then Taryn, as Trayvonis was like something about, have you put it all together? And I really was like, no, I haven't.
So, all that being said, kind of taking a sidestep away from Wizards specifically, and those things encompass that. So what are some plot twists that you all have used in the past? We don't have to talk about current things, but used in the past that either worked really well or didn't work at all.
Well, I'll speak in generalities. I mean, I think that the idea of a good plot twist is one in which when it happens, um, the players, whoever's like deeply involved and deeply connected
No.
to it, will say, "I knew it," right? Because I mean, blindsided is good. It can be effective, but also like you want them to have linked all those breadcrumbs to eventually come to this conclusion and still be surprised by it.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like what works and what doesn't, I mean, it really depends on the story. You can do the sort of the good guy's actually the bad guy or the vice versa. But really anything that surprises the players and you know, for lack of a better way of describing it, plot twist means to turn the plot in a different direction. So anything
Yeah.
that turns the plot in a different direction is going to be successful. You know, you've done all kinds. It's really just something that will shift the dynamics, shift the way the players think about a certain thing, and then take them in a different direction.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because like we'll talk about my Realms crew for a second. Like a long time ago, Lizzie put together just with some words that I said that the artificer was her father, and I did some really awesome tap dancing to get her off that trail, and she had just side thought for just a second, which gave me like an episode or two, and then it was her father. And she was like, "Ugh!" Like that was even more like she was on it, and then she was distracted for a second, and then came back, and she's like, "Damn it!" So like, but I mean, Lizzie's in the chat; she can chime in on it, and you know, it was one of those things where like, yeah, it's great that you picked up on the breadcrumbs. A little too early though, like just because you know you misspeak and you say it out loud and that's it, it's out there.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
You know, same thing with, you know, my description of Shava, and it seems like some of the Realms crew had put two and two together. I was a little too nail on the head about, you know, current things or whatever. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing when you do it well, and where they're like, oh, it's, you know, because it's a beautiful thing when they don't know, especially in my games, right? Because they're like, oh, is this a PC or is this an NPC? Like, who is this person really? They have multiple names.
Did
maybe
you
this
just
is
confirm?
what?
Did you just confirm?
No, I didn't confirm anything.
Next question.
Damn it. See what I mean?
I got
but
you, April.
Foot in mouth.
April's a
I
day.
forgot Dianne
She
was
is.
I forgot
She's like-
Dianne was in Realms. Like for that moment, I was just thinking something else.
And your Realms crew is watching you, or what?
Well,
But I'm not looking at the chat, so I'm ignoring them.
But the other thing too is
know
you can
April's
do
taking
those
notes.
types of things, but then also the idea of them warping away to, like they were on their way of I don't even know what town it was. I'm bad with the towns you do name, but they were like, oh, we're the good buddies. We're heading out, and oh shit, we're in the frigid expanse. Like that is a plot twist. You know what I mean? That completely derailed what they were trying to do, and then sends them on this new thing. And so that's a different style of plot twist, but still effective.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too crazy in like plot twists just because I do have some plot twists coming up. I see you, Jordan. I'm not gonna give away my secrets.
What is Jordan and shit?
But he said he had a notebook out. He was gonna take notes
I
on
mean,
my
you act
plot
like I'm
twist.
not taking notes, but
Right, but I will talk.
Not.
I do love personal story based
Yeah.
plot twists. I feel like I lean towards those more than like the grand scheme plot twist, which I do those too, of course. But like Jordan's character thought he was speaking to the traveler for
Yes.
this whole time.
Right.
And in fact, it was vegan. No, just kidding. It was Becca.
Oh my god.
I am the glue that connects it all together.
You know, never mind.
But yeah, I mean, that literally came from him saying that he was getting whispered to by the traveler. And I was like, oh, whispers. The traveler doesn't whisper. I'll tell you who does whisper. I feel like my plot twists are usually just random. I don't really plan too far ahead. And then I hear it and I'm like, ooh. And then I wait for the right moment. I don't pull the trigger too early. But
then she waits to just unload like 50 shadows on you.
yeah.
You did that
Pull
to
out
yourself,
your
though.
trauma, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
More.
Yeah,
To,
like
more to
have
come.
your-
I love it.
More to come.
Yeah, you know, just like having your dead friends visit you in your dreams
Yeah.
and shadows that are.
Or your alive friends
Yeah.
visiting you in
I like
person.
I like the little ones, like when like Frizz is like, "Is my family here?" and you're like, "Nah, they're dead."
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
gonna
And then
just.
Frizz goes into a
Yeah,
death
so-
spiral.
I have to not meta. I have to
Yeah.
not meta.
So something else too. So like, I know we've talked about this a bunch of times, and I'm really not going to go into it because everyone's already done it. But the Jojobi plot twist was pulled from his backstory.
I was like,
But here's the thing: the Travanis one now trumps the Jojobi one. So now we're going to talk about Travanis twist for years to come. But that was the first thing that I thought about. So the plot twist of Jodobi's elven sister dying was the very first thing I thought about for Realms of Ukador Season 1. I didn't think about anything else. Once I found out that he had a clean backstory and all these ooey gooey things, like he had no character motivation, I'm like, okay, so I need to get him on the page. And that was what I thought about for the first thing. And then I backlogged it 16 episodes prior before that reveal. So thinking about plot twists, have you ever had a time when your players didn't like what you did? Like if you didn't give them enough of a heads up or enough of a prep, or you just kind of just blindly pulled the rug out from under them and it just went to shit after that?
Yeah, this one time, Rook. No, I'm kidding.
it's not so much that like I swapped up like the BBEG a little. I don't remember what it was, like one of my first campaigns. I don't remember exactly what I did, but it was like, haha, the BBEG is not really the BBEG, like the BBEG. It's this guy, whatever, right? Okay, like
Sure.
that whole I'm new to this and I'm trying it, and my players just like I don't know what it was, but they did the game break thing, where as a DM, like they just completely just banana ramble everything you had planned, and so you just
That's my new favorite phrase. Thank you.
I come up with some really good ones, guys, but they just completely like they just basically they burnt so many bridges like in the process of being in this one town that they could never go back realistically to complete that story arc, like and at least not until they were like way higher level, because of it was kind of supposed to be like this covert thing, and they absolutely just I mean they did not, it wasn't even like dice fails, it was just they reacted weird and did weird things that I was like, wait, what are you, okay? And then I did like a fun time hop where I was like, back in time, this is that city you guys got kicked out of. 2 runs later they got kicked out of that city again. Different characters, and I was just like, I'm never gonna get to explore this city.
This city isn't for you guys, apparently.
Yeah, like, and I had fun twists there that time too that just never got to be explored, and I was like, it's fine. But it just sometimes players will react in a way that you don't see. It's not like it's just something I didn't as a new DM foresee, and now I expect everything.
With bad guys, particularly like a BBG, you do have to be careful, because what happens is the players invest energy into hating that said being. So, and if there's a moral dilemma that then comes up, then that can be kind of cool or to explore. But if it gets just switched, that it is now not that person that they've just invested all this time in hating, I could see where that would sort of lose motivation. Oh, now I'm supposed to hate this person? Well, why? You know what I mean? And that's true, I guess, for anything. As long as if the players don't understand the consequences and then end up making the wrong decision, it's going to feel sour. But if they have all the cards on the table and they end up making the wrong decision, then that's on them. So
Yeah. I don't know if my players hated this plot twist, but it definitely, they reacted in a way that like I didn't expect, and it changed the campaign to something completely different. So my first campaign, so this was like 3 years ago, I decided to make one of my players' father, who he was looking for, the big bad guy. And he ended up continuing to be the big bad, but they found him, didn't know he was the big bad, and he invited them to join his sort of cult situation. And I was like, they're gonna say no. I had all of this stuff planned, and then they're gonna turn on him. Well, they did not say no. They said yes.
Oh.
So then I was like, well, it was a double plot twist because I was twisting the plot on them and they twisted the plot on me because then I had to go back and rework it so that way they would eventually hate him and turn on him. And I did. And it worked out great. And they ended up killing him. But it was like a week of me going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I have had like one.
I didn't do that
thing.
right.
I've had one successful, like, my favorite plot twist is still kind of similar to what Solo did. Is I had one of my players, like, last run, we knew this was it, and she kind of told me early on. I mean, she was a shadow sorcerer and a follower of the Raven Queen, and she was like, we're going after this thing that has a lot of power, huh? And I was like, yeah. She was like, I want it. And I want to be this, because I was running 2 campaigns and she was in the other one. She was like, I want it, and I want to be that bad guy that we saw in the Shadow Realm when we were in the other campaign. And I was like, let's do it. And so last run, everyone's like all tearful because we saved things and like one of the other characters was passing on. It was this really sweet moment, and all of a sudden they look over and she's like, oh yeah, I'm taking this and I'm gone. And so then it was just like absolute. And then now they're all hell-bent and they're like, we need to replay that campaign. I want to go back and I want to do... And it's like, okay, that was a good one then. But this is also the same players and the same campaign in which they got kicked out of the city. So I don't know anymore.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that I want to say to all the DMs out there who are working with plot twists and things in your campaign, there is a very, very fine line of keeping your players informed and then surprising them. There's no right answer. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you think you got it right, but you still got it wrong. This time, an example, after Silverthorn's episode in Wizards, Rook had sent a message that was very troubling to Lily, who is her partner. They were in love and they were supposed to meet in the courtyard after Ascension. That moment, which Lily didn't know, was when Rook died, or the simulacrum of Rook died. So after that show, I was talking with Lizzie, who plays Lily, and she was very distraught, and I didn't expect it because of so many reasons. So we had a very long emotional conversation. I actually brought Taryn in on the call late at night. We had a very, very, very long emotional conversation about the characters being connected in so many ways. Luckily, though, this is the biggest thing that I can tell all of you, all the DMs out there. Fucking listen to your players. Don't have your feet in the ground about anything. Your players are more important than your world. Sorry. If you chose them to be your players, they're more important than your story, than your world, than anything. So you need to adapt as a DM to make it so it's safe, so they want to play in the game. Because what I had done is I had wrecked Lizzie's world inherently because of just so many different elements of their relationship, of where they thought the relationship was going, and everything in between. So I think we all landed in a really good place, which I actually think is way better than what it was in the beginning because I listened. I listened to the troubling emotions that were coming, the things that stirred up on Taryn's side and Lizzie's side. Lizzie, please stop making names that sound like your name. It's very hard to differentiate the two. See, I make sarcastic jokes when I'm uncomfortable and I'm sad. So it was a little disheartening and deflating on my end because I was like, yeah, here's this big thing. And then I get derailed, right? So the plot twist was on me this time because I did something to one of my players that I shouldn't have done, and I should have brought them in. That being said, when Eddie came to me about his idea and we talked in length about how we wanted to take his character, I let him in on the status of Rook because that's the first thing that Eddie saw when he walked in the room was Rook's dead body. I didn't even just tell. So good. I didn't tell Eddie. I didn't just tell him that she was dead. I said that she was decapitated because there's a big fucking difference between dead and decapitated.
They're talking about that in chat too. They're like, "Oh, bring her back," and the other one's like, "Nah, dude, she ain't got a head." So
I told Eddie that, and I also brought up the same thing to Crixie. So Bridget and I had a long conversation. She knew Eddie was going to be there. She kind of knew some of the details because, again, we're all professional actors to a point. We're all here to do improv and role play. And I learned my lesson from Lizzie with Eddie and Bridget to give them the information that, oh, I'm glad you told. Like, Bridget literally was like, I'm so glad you told me that. Oh, like, and then she could sit with it for hours before the episode and then be able to process it when it happens.
Did Jason know?
No.
Well,
Jason.
that's good.
Jason.
I would have been mad if I was the only one going into the episode that didn't know that was going to happen.
Jason and Jordan did not know that Rook was going to die or was going to happen. Anything was going to happen to Rook. So Jason, Jordan, and you did not know.
Sweet.
That.
I'm all right. With
and
that.
then all the other cast members.
I didn't know.
Yeah, all the other cast members didn't know
That's
either.
true.
But I was just thinking, like, with House Frostguard and
Yeah.
the inherent things. But yeah.
Off of that, there is also, as far as a player goes, some diminishing returns when it comes to plot twists. You can't keep throwing them at them because it's just it'll wear them down. Like the end of Wizards, like for me, I had two big ones right out of the gate. That's about good. Like I don't know if he would have been able to handle another one between Anna and Rook. Like that was good, but overall throughout a campaign, you can't just keep doing it.
You thought Anna was just gonna go with you?
No, I mean,
thought Anna was gonna probably
I think he
hang out
was
at the
hoping.
college.
yeah, it's sort of back and forth. Like the stuff with Rook, or I guess Trayvonis, was easier for me, Ronin, to grasp and understand, because like I said, I had an idea of that was going to happen. The Anna stuff was, I don't know. Yes, I knew I did,
Well,
but it was still the harder
You
of the
knew
two.
that she wasn't gonna go.
Yeah,
like, we
right.
had that
but
conversation.
to his defense, in his mindset and his storyline, Thegan was going
Yeah.
to come back for Anna with graduation being done because Thegan didn't know the other two
true.
pieces.
Sure.
So in
Right.
Ronin's head as a player and a character,
But
he's like, I'll always have Anna.
I think you can. I
Yeah.
think you can. You can thank Travanos for
Well, and
a
that's
little
the thing,
bit of
like, that's the other thing I was
Anna
gonna say.
being like, "Stick it to the man."
Well, that's the other thing I was going to tell you about plot twists, is that it can definitely help develop a character. So Thegan the whole time was kind of a Mary Sue. I mean, he had this idea of like wanting to get revenge and wanting to become a god, but he didn't really ever have a good reason. And ironically, the shit that was pulled on him there is the exact reason now that he wants to become a god. He needs to become a god at this point because he needs to get on equal footing with the two people he wants to kill.
But the best part about that, and the reason why, I mean, like Taryn and I, we talk about it all the time, but my crazy brain and like all of our crazy brains put together, you know, you create Captain, I'm going to kill everybody planet, right? But in normal, because again, like Ukador, we mirror a lot of the other lore, right? So some of the gods are the same gods in all the different worlds. So Travanis is the Raven Queen. I think a little bit more beefy and a little bit more intense than the Raven Queen, but ultimately the Raven Queen. Thegan is Vecna, or will become Vecna, right? So, but in normal Forgotten Realms lore, the Raven Queen and Vecna fucking hate each other. And now we have established that same mirror thing organically in Ukador, which is why I started to choose Taryn to be this. And then Anna, subsequently, Shadow Queen, which is essentially the Lady of Pain, who is a friend of the Raven Queen and also hates Vecna.
Who's the only one who truly knows the origins of the Raven Queen. So
I freaking love the Lady of Pain. She is.
Yeah.
So,
although I think Anna's Lady of Pain should be a little bit more cooler, because the Lady of Pain in Forgotten Realms is like really only like bound to a city, and she just like protects that city.
Yeah,
she just hangs out in one city.
Well,
because
they
it's
never
hers.
developed her more. So like they did
Yeah,
the
they
same
just
thing that
didn't.
I did, where they put a god in a place and they're there, and maybe I'll come
Yeah.
back to it. They just never went
She's
back.
so
I'm like,
freaking
oh my
cool.
god, guys, like really?
People are terrified of her. Like
Yeah.
if they see her in the streets, they just
She
I'm sorry.
And what's
flays
funny
people.
is-
She
Yes.
flays people's skin off their bodies.
She's amazing.
Look how excited she's getting. This is troubling, guys.
The Lady of Pain is.
But
Yeah.
I love the Lady
thing
of
that
Pain.
the thing that's going to be an
I do
interesting
too.
dynamic as far as lore building and whatever the hell you want to do with it later is that the Realms Vecna will, while the Lady of Pain will hate Vecna, I don't think Vecna will hate the Lady of Pain. Like, I don't think that that's ever going to be a thing. Like,
Not initially, anyway.
yeah, like it's not a thing.
That
Like
hurts.
so, because well, the thing is, he blames, he doesn't blame Anna, and he blames Gwendolyn for the time change. Like he doesn't have foresight, but he at least envisioned what was supposed to happen, and then Gwendolyn came along and fucked it up. So when I said two people, I meant Trayvonis and Gwendolyn.
Oh,
Not,
interesting.
not Anna. He's an egotist,
Wow.
but not a normal egotist.
Yeah.
The fact that he apologized to Anna at the end, like at the very end, like that is much bigger from him than an I love you. Like that is.
She hates Thegan now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but
Hates him.
But it will. I don't think it'll ever be reciprocated.
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
and that's
Okay.
the beautiful part too. Is so like.
That doesn't make me feel like an ass at all. Thanks.
Well, that's one of the cool things with
Way to
this
go,
happening
Thegan.
organically, though, because like now some of these relationships are deeper, and like that was one of the things
Yeah.
that Lizzie and I have talked about. Is like now there's this element of Trayvonis, like I kind of emphasized when that conversation with her was like now she's learned the important, like it's not, she was about balance, but now she's come to appreciate that light a little bit
Yeah.
more, and it adds some depth there and some interesting
There's
ammo
just-
for the future.
From a world building
Uh,
perspective, there's just a lot more to play with.
Yeah, like Solo has so much ammo now off of just those characters alone
Yeah.
that I know, I saw that face. And he keeps talking about Trayvonis being worse than in Realms 1, and I'm like,
Oh, she's so much worse now. Like because like
no.
in Realm Season 1 when they fought Trayvonis. Now again, we talk about Gwendolyn, and a lot of people don't know who Gwendolyn is, and that is she's essentially like plot twist that was just hand grenaded into a space. Gwendolyn is someone that they met in Realms Season 2, which is the Wednesday show, and she had a cameo because she's from the wizard school, and she had an altercation with one of the teachers who ends up being, Voltok Pyriel, and she's trying to change her future because it's bleak. So her idea was to let Trayvonis out of the vault in that time period. Technically, in the Realm Season 1 time period, Trayvonis didn't come out of that vault for another 1,000 years, which means corruption magic had already left the school. So Trayvonis has now been partially corrupted with the darkness magic, which makes her even more terrifying than she was previously.
Don't
Which-
you take Lily from me. Sorry.
which
Go ahead.
will-
It's good.
It changes the
I think that's
timeline.
Thegan's first target.
Oh my god.
You can
It
certainly
it goes
try.
Gwendolyn, Lily, Trayvonis.
So here's the other thing too, and after this note, we're gonna go to our quick little 5-minute break. The other thing too is in the world of Ukador, when wizards hit level 20, they have an option. They can stay in the planet and just be normal immortals on the planet, so just like a level 20 wizard just romping around. They can choose to ascend to become a demigod, or they can go into like the ethereal plane and kind of just become part of the magical essence that is Ukador. So when we finish this next season, season 3 will finish out what Wizards of Ukador storyline. All of these wizards will become level 20 wizards. So Lily will have a choice. Hemian, Kai, Anna will all have choices to become gods in Ukador. Oh, gods in that sounds like a really good show title.
Like a one shot though.
Yeah.
You don't wanna get
please.
too
Just
crazy
a
with
one
that.
shot,
Solo, calm down.
solo.
well, we have so
One
many.
shot.
Reel it back. Maybe a 3 shot.
Okay.
Like
Well,
a
'cause we
mini
have so
series, like a
many.
6-month miniseries. Like
Like a 2-year campaign.
Well, that's how Wizards started. But so it'll be
I
fun to
know.
see how all this maps out because we have teased it, and I will openly tease it now too. Is that the Wizards of Ukador season 3 campaign will start in Ukador, but they will be transporting to the world of Greyhawk to rebuild their forces. So this will be the Wizards of Ukador in the world of Greyhawk, which will be a fun twist and experiencing new things while these wizards reacclimate themselves, get to level 20, and come back and kick Thegan's ass. Is kind of the plan. But that being said, go ahead and enter raffle in the chat. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we will be right back.